Howdy everyone, it's Sam. Hope you're doing really well. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider liking the content, then subscribing to the channel. And if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Before I get into the video, I just want to make a very special shout out to a man named Nathan. You've seen him on my channel before. We've interacted on different channels as well. He hooked me up with that poster, and I just want to say thank you very much to you. That's always going to be up there on my wall. We met when I was making my way up from Canberra into Queensland, and over the past couple of months Sam has indeed been north, south, east and west and everywhere else in between, which is why I haven't been able to talk about the North Queensland Cowboys as much as what I usually do, as much as what I like to, and here we are. So without further ado, I am going to be speaking about the 2023 draw for the North Queensland Cowboys. And let me preface it by saying that it's going to be broken up into sections of 5 rounds, 1 through to 5, etc., etc. Let's go. For the Cowboys in 2023, their year starts like this. They don't leave the state of Queensland for the first 4 weeks, the first month of the 2023 season. That's very nice. And then it concludes the first 5 rounds with a trip down to Sydney Olympic Park. Now, the Canberra Raiders are the first team that the boys from Townsville face, and it is going to be on a Saturday afternoon, the second slot on Super Saturday. That is always a massive fixture in my opinion. Raiders versus Cowboys, 8 times out of 10, they're always really close, really exciting. And if it's anything like the 2014 and 2017 season openers that these two featured in, we're in for an absolute classic. Moving into round number 2 now, it's the Queensland Derby. It's the Battle of Queensland, the Broncos versus Cowboys, down at Suncorp Stadium. This is our first away trip for the season. Need I say any more? I don't think so. Rounds 3 and 4 are back-to-back home games. The Warriors and the Titans. Now the Warriors, with all due respect, I would say that this would be the game that I'm most confident in getting a win over the first 5 rounds of the season. But in saying that, the Warriors have recruited massively. They've been arguably the busiest of any club in the NRL over the off-season, including picking up Andrew Webster as the brand new head coach, who has been a part of the Penrith Panthers dynasty over the past couple of seasons or few seasons. And then we back it up with a game against the Gold Coast Titans, and I find them a little bit more deadly because they've picked up Kieran Foran, Sam Verrills is there. I think AJ Brimson is going to have himself quite a season this year, and Jaden Campbell at fullback. I think that's going to be a really deadly spine. However, may I just say that Isaac Liu seems like he's actually going to be going to the Warriors, so that makes the Titans probably a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter in the forward pack. But that's rounds 3 and 4, back-to-back home games against the Warriors and the Titans. And then moving into round 5, and this is going to be fascinating. Bulldogs versus Cowboys. Bulldogs have picked up Marnie, they've picked up Kikau, Burton and Josh Addo-Carr are going to develop their combination over the next couple of weeks by the time kickoff comes around. Bulldogs are going to be no small task, because over the first 5 rounds, or even the first 7 rounds, the Cowboys take on one top 8 team from 2022. But this Bulldogs side showed some great form last year and was sniffing around that 8 for a little while midway through the 2022 campaign. This is going to be fascinating viewing when this game rolls around. This is happening on a Sunday twilight fixture, or happening for a Sunday twilight fixture. Seeing how the Bulldogs will go, seeing how the Cowboys can react. And I don't want to hear anybody say that the Cowboys can't win away in Sydney, because the Cowboys did that in week 1 of the finals. They did it against the Dragons at Cogra. They did it against Manly at Four Pines Park. I don't want to hear any of that narrative coming in at 2023 that the boys can't come down to Sydney and get the job done. So to summarise it, we've got 3 Super Saturday games inside that first 5 rounds, in the second slot of Super Saturday as well, just to be more specific. There is a Friday night primetime game against the Brisbane Broncos, and then there is a Sunday night twilight fixture against the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Overall, our start to the season, the Cowboys start to the season, it's pretty nice. Now focusing on round 6 through till 10. Round 6 is a massive win for the Cowboys. This is a huge victory and tick for the club. Now on Good Friday, there is the Bulldogs versus Rabbitohs, and over the years we've seen Melbourne, Brisbane, Parramatta partake on Good Friday night football, which garners massive audiences. The Cowboys are going to be featuring in Good Friday night football against who? The Redcliffe Dolphins. Cowboys versus Dolphins from Queensland Country Bank Stadium for the first time ever on Good Friday night, with the entire nation able to watch. That is a massive reward for their efforts in 2022. Also, as a side note to the Dolphins game, the Bulldogs-Cowboys game for round 5 is happening for a Sunday twilight fixture. The Cowboys versus Dolphins is happening on a Good Friday night, meaning that this is the Cowboys' first 5-day turnaround, short turnaround for 2023. Then a really short turnaround awaits us where we meet the Warriors again. Only 3 or 4 weeks between drinks, between round 3 and round 7, I should say. There's only about 4 weeks there, but it's probably going to feel like 3 weeks. The Cowboys are traveling to New Zealand for the first time since 2019 or 2018. So this is going to be a very special trip. Now, I'm going to just put my nuts out there. I'm going to say I'm disappointed that North Queensland could not afford to give up a home game to take over to New Zealand for the Warriors. That is a bit of a shame, bro. Hopefully that favour can be repaid in the following seasons or so. Round 8, Newcastle Knights come up to town, and the Cowboys, I just think you need to lock the barn doors up, because Newcastle Knights, who knows what's going to happen when they start rolling up into town, because they might poach our talent once more. So lock up them barn doors, Cowboys, because the Knights might be coming in for a raid. Now, rounds 9 and 10 are our first back-to-back away games for 2023, and the first one is an absolute doozy. If it's not the Brisbane Broncos, Cronulla Sutherland Sharks are the Cowboys' biggest rivals, in my opinion, and the Cowboys are travelling down to Shark Park for a Thursday night affair, and it's a rematch of their Week 1 finals epic. Need I say any more? This is going to be unreal. Another side note, they take on the Newcastle Knights, and then they back it up by taking on the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks a Saturday night for a Thursday night game. That's another short turnaround, 5-day turnaround as well. And then finally for round 10, it's going to be pretty special. We've got Magic Round. The Cowboys are featuring prime time on a Sunday afternoon fixture. And if my maths are correct, I really hope they are, it's going to be a special milestone for the entire club. Its 700th game is going to occur on this day for this fixture. Roosters versus Cowboys, primetime Sunday afternoon football fixture as a part of Magic Round. That's a pretty good slot to be in as well. And that's a really fun little period as well, round 6 down through till 10. So just to go through it all, just to summarize it, we've got a Friday night football game in prime time. We've got a Saturday game or Saturday twilight game over in New Zealand. Round 7, we've got a home 7:30 p.m. game, followed by a Thursday night primetime and a Sunday primetime game as well. So that's a really fun period if you're a North Queensland Cowboys supporter. Now we move into section 3 of our season, and it gets a little bit trickier. Rounds 11 through till round 15. In round 11, the Dragons are coming up to Townsville, and then round 12 and round 13, we have another set of back-to-back away games, this time in Sydney. Not one Sydney, then one Queensland game. They're both away in Sydney. Round 12, oh man, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. The West Tigers are hosting the Cowboys at Leichhardt Oval, and if you recall their previous encounter in 2022, the way how that ended, I think the Cowboys, I think they're walking into an ambush. I think come hell or high water, wherever they are going to be on the ladder, I think the gates of hell are going to open up on the Cowboys if the West Tigers have anything to do about it, if they have their say. And then I think this fixture is going to be a part of Indigenous round. I think the NRL have made a bit of a mistake, or maybe it's something that they could not help. So Indigenous round has traditionally, annually, taken place in the final couple of days or the final week of the month of May. Round 12 is the second last week of May. Round 13, obviously, therefore, is the last week of May. But round 13 is a trip to Parramatta at CommBank Stadium. And unfortunately, it's going to be a split round, meaning that it's origin affected. So I don't think Indigenous round will happen in the final week of May. I think it's going to happen the week before for round 12, when it's a completely full fixture and when everyone is going to start vying for state of origin slots. There would have been a bit of pepper in this game, but the likes of Junior Paulo and Regan Campbell-Gillard could be going to play for New South Wales in the state of origin. And then conversely, the North Queensland Cowboys could be losing Valentine Holmes and Murray Taulagi and possibly Tom Dearden to Queensland. So the Cowboys lose backs. The Parramatta Eels lose their forward pack. That's already sort of leveled things out a bit, but yeah, it's unfortunately going to be a state of origin affected contest. And then there is a long break between drinks for the Cowboys. They play on the Friday night against the Parramatta Eels, and then they play their next contest on the Sunday the week after against the Melbourne Storm back home in Townsville for a Sunday afternoon primetime affair. And then finally, in round 15, the Cowboys get their first bye of 2023. It's going to be fascinating to see how Todd Payten manages his roster. But the Cowboys, they're going to be the second last team to get their bye for the year. So it's going to be a long first haul for 2023 for the Cowboys. But in Todd Payten, in their fitness, we bloody will trust. Section number 4 for 2023 for the North Queensland Cowboys. They return from their first bye of the year in round 16 to take on the Penrith Panthers on a primetime Friday night fixture up there in Townsville. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be an origin affected contest as well, as it looks like that the round is split. So there's going to be a couple of players missing from this game, unfortunately, due to state of origin. But a game against the back-to-back reigning premiers, it's going to draw in a fair chunk of ratings, I reckon. Round 17, then it's another long turnaround as well. On Friday night, we take on the Panthers. Then our next game isn't until Sunday, and that is another Channel 9 primetime game where we travel down to Sydney Olympic Park to take on the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And this is a game where all the Origin players should be playing. And I'll tell you what, if they do, and if everyone's predictions are true, this is going to be a top of the table clash. And it's going to be an absolute blockbuster. There are a couple of YouTube personalities that have also put their neck out and have said that Rabbitohs versus Cowboys could be a grand final as well in 2023. But also, it's really cool because back in the mid to late 2000s, there were a couple of classic games that the Rabbitohs and Cowboys competed in on a Sunday afternoon Channel 9 game, and this harkens back to a couple of those games as well. So I'm really actually quite looking forward to this contest. In round 18, the West Tigers come up to Townsville as well, and we know that the West Tigers are a bit of a bogey side when they come up to Townsville. They go all right when they have to travel up north too, and while the Warriors and Cowboys earlier on in 2023 only have about 3 or 4 weeks between drinks, this is another short turnaround between opponents. There's only going to be about 6 weeks between the first game of Tigers Cowboys, which is round 12, and then there's round 18 here as well. So, and then I don't know. We have our first bye in round 15, and then our next bye is going to be round 19. So we come back after a bye. We put in 3 weeks, and then we have our second bye of the season. I don't know how everybody else's bye stacks up to a stat or to a fact like that. But I don't know, man, it's just not an opportunity to gain some flow or some momentum. But I think that's just going to be the case for every other club in 2023. And then to wrap up Section 4 of 2023, it's a trip down to 4 Pines Park to take on the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles on a Saturday twilight fixture. And if it's anything like their game that these two had last season, we're in for an absolute beauty. So just to summarize things, the Cowboys in Part 4 of 2023 have the Cowboys have 2 primetime games, one Friday night and one Sunday afternoon contest, followed by 2 Saturday games, both in the 5:30 slot as well, followed, well, not in, and in between those 2 Saturday twilight fixtures is the Cowboys' second bye of the year. And now for Part 5, I think we come to the most difficult part of the season. In my opinion, Section 5 of the 2023 season is the hardest for the North Queensland Cowboys, and it starts in round 21 with a Saturday 7:30 game against the Parramatta Eels up there in Townsville. This is the first time ever the Parramatta Eels will play up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium during the regular season. Their first ever trip up there was, of course, back in that preliminary final last season. So if the Parramatta Eels are trending and tracking to be top 8, that's going to be a tough game in and of itself. Then 1 week later, on a Sunday afternoon game, a Channel 9 game as well, we are away to the Gold Coast Titans. And if the Titans, again, I think they're going to be a massive headache for quite a number of sides. And an away trip down to the Gold Coast, we've actually gone pretty bad up until last year, so hopefully that we can carry on the momentum that we got from last year to build into another win down at the Gold Coast this year. And then a massive game Saturday for round 23, the Cowboys versus the Broncos. The Battle of Queensland is happening on a Saturday afternoon game. It's a Saturday 3 p.m. game for the Cowboys versus Broncos. It's a bit of a shame that this isn't a Friday night, just in my opinion, or even a Sunday Channel 9 primetime game, in my opinion, just because it's nice to have that free-to-air national audience to be viewing, you know, the Battle of Queensland as it should be as well. But a Saturday 3 p.m. game against the Brisbane Broncos up in Townsville, that crowd, even if it's going to be 16th versus 17th come this time, and I really hope, I'm touching wood that it's bloody not, that's going to be packed out. It'll be absolutely chock-a-block. The atmosphere will be amazing, but I don't think it's going to be 16th versus 17th. I think it's going to be more like 5th versus 8th or something like that. Round 24, the Cowboys have their third and final bye for 2023. And then the Cowboys return from their bye, their third and final bye, for a home Thursday night primetime game against the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. Unfortunately, followed by this round, there are only 2 more games remaining, 2 more rounds remaining, and this is the Cowboys' last home game of the season. So out of 27 rounds, our final game is in round 25 against our second biggest rivals, the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. And the Sharkies, they don't fear the Cowboys, they don't fear Townsville as well. They've had a very good record against us in recent times. And again, if these two sides play the way they did in 2022, we're looking at potentially a top 4, top of the table clash on a Thursday night. So this could be an absolute blockbuster in waiting. The final 2 weeks of our 2023 campaign are back-to-back away games, and game number 1 is down at Suncorp Stadium on a primetime Friday night against the Redcliffe Dolphins. This could be a bit of a yucky game, or it could be a trap game, but if the projections are correct and the Cowboys finish top 4 and the Dolphins finish in the bottom 4, this could be a yucky Friday night primetime fixture, like a 40 points to 6 sort of a scoreline. And then we move into the final round of the regular season, and this could be anything. This could be absolutely anything. The Penrith Panthers and the Cowboys are going to do battle in the final round of a regular season for the second year running, and this time it's taking place at Bluebet Stadium. Now, the special thing about this is, even though we really don't know yet, but just at the moment, this will be the Penrith Panthers' last ever home game throughout a regular season. Now, we all anticipate that the Panthers will make finals and finish top 4, so they will play another game at Bluebet Stadium, I think, in the finals. Fingers crossed anyway for Panthers fans. But as it is, this is the last home game ever at Bluebet Stadium throughout the regular season, and the Cowboys are going to be that opponent. So that's a nice notch to the belt for the North Queensland Cowboys. But with 1 week to go before finals, are the Cowboys going to rest players? Are the Penrith Panthers going to rest players? You wouldn't imagine Penrith would rest players for such a special occasion. Meanwhile, the Cowboys, I mean, Todd Payton would probably sit back and go, unless if we absolutely must win to get into top 4 or into top 8, you'd probably reckon that he'd save players, the bruisers, and rest the Origin stars or the Cowboys superstars for this final regular fixture. So I'd love to get down there. If I get hit up the arse by a rainbow, I'd love to get down there to witness this fixture and be a part of history, as it were. But so just to reiterate, we have a Saturday 7:30 game up at home. We have a Sunday afternoon primetime game, a Saturday 3 p.m. game, a bye, and then a Thursday night clash as well. We've got a Friday night primetime game, and then a Saturday 5:30 p.m. game against the Panthers out there at Bluebet Stadium, and it's been a bit of a graveyard for us over the past couple of years as well. That's difficult. I don't think it's murderer's row. I think a couple of other sides have a bit of a more difficult task ahead of them to finish off the year this season, but I think that's a tough old section of our season. So overall, man, there's no, besides the trip over to New Zealand and the Good Friday night fixture against the Redcliffe Dolphins and that Bluebet Stadium final game ever fixture, there's not anything really special about it. I mean, the Cowboys have massive numbers for Saturday night. They're dominating Saturday night in 2023. They've got a handful of Sunday afternoon fixtures as well, and daytime fixtures on a Saturday as well. So I like it. I wish there could have been a bit more traveling around rurally. Our 2 pre-season trial games happening against the Dolphins and the Broncos. One of them is happening up at Cairns, and then the other one is happening at the Sunshine Coast Stadium as well. And I've got my ticket to the Broncos Cowboys Sunshine Coast Stadium pre-season trial game. So I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to the entire season. If you'd like me to review to your team's 2023 draw, please leave a comment below. Hope you all have a very nice weekend. Thank you very much for the continuous support, and expect some more content from me over the next couple of days, weeks. Thank you very much. Adios.